Welcome back, baseball fans, to another elimination video, eliminating the Cleveland Indians. What you're looking at is last year. I'm going to show you last year first. They were the worst team in the league. Had the first overall pick in the draft. Made a deal with Baltimore in the offseason to acquire Frank Robinson to help this team out. As you see last year, 252, 422. Net runs, they scored 113. They gave up 161. They had 9 homers by Tony Horton to lead the club. They did not attempt a stolen base. Maybe they did. They didn't steal one anyway. Didn't steal a base. 110 walks, 208 strikeouts. That's not good. 318 on base. That's not good. 22 RBIs by Horton. Nobody else in over 20. Pitching wise, Mangori was a nice reliever as a closer with Eddie Watt. Did a nice job. Gaylord Perry, though, had a 2-8 record. He had 8 complete games and a 3.86 ERA. Just real bad luck. Really bad luck last year. Mike McCormick also came over from the Giants. Didn't do a lot. Vicente Romo. Ray Washburn's career is over. Steve Hargan had a nice 1970 card. Didn't pitch well with it. Yeah. I mean, it's a last place team. Yuck. So what happened? Well, guess what? 2022. Hey, they won the division with a 21-20 record. Really streaky team. Really benefited from a collapsing Detroit Tiger team. Really benefited from the Expos being bad and from the Ohio players being bad. Really benefited from playing the Tigers in the postseason tournament and beating them 5 out of 6 times. Then, when they were losing 4 in a row to the White Sox, well, the Tigers were losing 4 in a row to the Brewers, so it didn't matter. So they get the quote-unquote division title, and they end up finishing with a losing record again. But it's just a game under 500. So it's weird. I guess you say there's progress. I mean, they should be happy to make it to not just the playoffs. They won the wild card round and got to the divisional round of the playoffs. So the resume looks great until you dig into the stats and realize you had some great stats here and some really bad ones. Let's start with the pitching instead of the hitting this time. Mangori, your all-star closer with 10 saves. .140 ERA with that card. Lived up to it. And Gaylord Perry, this is great to see. I've had some terrible luck with Gaylord Perry over the years, but I finally got a great year out of him. 10-6, 2.82 ERA, 9 complete games. Almost caught Wilbur Wood for the innings pitched lead in the American League. Didn't quite get that far. But a great year out of those two guys. And then Tidrow and Hargan were just kind of, well, they weren't even average. They were below average, I gotta say. But maybe that happened in the postseason and the playoffs. They got bombed a few times. And the bullpen that was doing so well early finishes terribly. I mean, just awful. Hilgendorf and Romo and Lamb, I mean, they made some key moments. I keep going back to that Detroit series where they beat the Tigers 5 out of 6 times. That was the highlight of the Cleveland season, and from that point on, they lost 8 out of 9. So, yeah, Cleveland did have the number 1 seed at one brief moment, and then after that, nothing. So, let's take a look at the offense before we move on. Fred Stanley, hey, he hit 300 and 100 at-bats. There is Frank Robinson. The big move was acquiring him from Baltimore, as Baltimore decided they'd rather have Al Bunbury's 1973 rookie year. So Frank hits 297 with 6-24. Those numbers will be better than Boog Powell of Baltimore, will be better than Al Bunbury, better than Don Buford. Really would have fit perfectly on Baltimore if they just would have held on to him like they should have. Let's see here. Larry Brown, Duke Sims, a little overachieving there. Chambliss on target. Walton's got 8 homers, 150 at-bats is fine. Buddy Bell, you know, it's his early years of Buddy Bell. He's not that big of a hitter quite yet. Pinson's getting up there in age. He stole the first 2 bases in 2 seasons for Cleveland. Ray Fosse's card didn't play that well. It was a 300 hitting card. He hits 268 with it. Lowenstein's best year in Cleveland was not a good year at all. He hit 209. And then Tony Horton, who had such a great year 1 year ago, is below the Mendoza line with Eddie Leon. So now finally, we can take a look at the Cleveland Indians and see what do we have here, folks? What is this? Is this a division-winning team? Is this a dog? Now, Cleveland and Detroit are set up for success because they play in this division with the Expos and the Ohio players, who really should not find a lot of success, you would think. And remember, Cleveland does not have to battle for a division title against Boston and New York and Detroit. Well, they do Detroit, but not Baltimore. So these are the 8 players going away. And when we look at the list, yeah, we see some foundational players here and some, yeah. So it's going to be 4 guys there to move on. It's going to be tough. Let's see. What are we left with in this offseason? You know, that they're not going to have that high draft pick anymore. And the idea of sneaking up on the American League is not really going to be an option. They're going to only bring back 5 hitters and 7 pitchers. So the 5 hitters they bring back, this really fun Duke Sims card. He's a -2 arm in the outfield, but a +2 arm catcher, which is kind of fun. A lot of homers and walks. Really neat card for Duke. Could be your DH, catcher, or outfielder. On base is not a problem with these Indians. Fred Stanley draws a ton of walks. He could be your everyday shortstop if you really want to. Again, Lowenstein, best year with the Indians, 292. He had a really bad year, though. This is Chambliss getting started with the Indians. I think he might have been a Rookie of the Year, or he was up there competing with the likes of Carlton Fisk for that award, I believe. And then Buddy Bell, probably competing with him as well. Bell and Chambliss. Again, they would become better players. But they're going to bring 7 pitchers back, and that may be good, depending on who that 7 is. Well, it's going to be Gaylord, of course. And this is what you invested in that trade with the Giants, the Sam McDowell trade, because you knew you were going to have Gaylord for a long time. 72. You're going to get this for 2 more tries, so that's great news. Tidrow is fine. He's got a 2.77 ERA. He had some problems against the Oakland A's in a league divisional round, but everybody has a problem with the Oakland A's. He's fine as a starter 7, so that's good. This Kilkenny guy, not so much. There's a real shortage of left-handed pitching, as you can imagine. An ERA of 5 for the Tigers in 71. He wouldn't be bad as a lefty reliever, but as a starter, not so much. Speaking of lefty relievers, though, you have a full bullpen. You actually could make Ray Lamb your number 4 starter if you want to. He was in the bullpen last year, and he's fine. I mean, the bullpen stats you saw really was a shame. Like I said, in the Oakland-Cleveland game. It was a shame. It was a shame about Cleveland. They really did make some nice, had some nice moments this year, but just not enough of them, I guess. So Lamb is fine. Hilgendorf, we think he's fine too. There's some homers against righties we're not crazy about. Romo, man, I mean, slamming the door against righties, some walks over there, but not a lot of hits in the guy's card. And Mingori, your closer. So that's a fine bullpen. This is a fine pitching staff. I'm not crazy about that Kilkenny card, but that might be something they address in the offseason. So let's see what those Cleveland Indians do with their 8 1970 players. Okay, baseball fans, we'll take a look at what the Indians are going to do with 7 hitters. You know, that's going to be a big deal. This offense is going to change a little bit, and only 1 pitcher needs to be moved in or moved out. So we'll take a peek here. Beginning with Larry Brown, an infielder utility guy. Larry Brown, from 63 to 74. Second, third, and short. You see big player in the 60s. We'll leave that minimized there for you. Big player in the 60s, not much batting average. In 70, he hit 258, which is kind of a high mark, really, and 655 OPS. After that, not a lot in this timeline for Larry Brown. He's got participation in 71, so you could put him on waivers with the Oakland A's in 71. Let's make sure they made his card for Oakland or Cleveland. We've got the 71 roster sheet up. So let's see if he's here for Oakland. Blefary Hagen Kupkowski's not there or there. So yeah, everyday player. Let's see, for Oakland. Yeah, he's an everyday player for Oakland. So let's put him on waivers. There's not a lot of stick left for that guy. All right, next guy is Ray Fosse. He'll have some mileage left on him. 70, of course. Brilliant year. Hit through over 300. And he still has some mileage left in him. So there it is. All-Star, Gold Glover. 830 OPS with 307 average. 71 is still a great year for him. And he'll continue with the Indians. Ray Fosse's coming back. Good sign. Bring a good catcher back. That gives you an edge over the rest of baseball. If you're strong at catcher, where most teams aren't. Good for Cleveland. Next up, Tony Horton. Here's a who. First baseman got displaced by Chris Chambliss' arrival. And 70 would be the end of it for him. Was a Red Sox and then a Cleveland Indians starting in 67. A lot of power, including in 69, 27 homers. Got 27 MVP votes with a 70 year. But at age 25, something happened to him. He just fell off the baseball world. It wasn't a tragedy there. No. Something happened to him at age 25 where he couldn't continue anymore, so who knows. Any Tony Horton information out there? Let us know. Anyway, we will retire Mr. Tony Horton. That's a shame when a player just falls off a cliff like that. Eddie Leone. Also in the mold of a Larry Brown as far as middle infielder, plays a bunch of positions, but Eddie Leone actually had some more juice in him in this decade. He would play a little bit longer. You see, he hits 261 and 71 for the Indians in almost a full season. So, yeah, he would get the nod over Brown, so we'll keep him too. We'll keep Mr. Eddie Leone instead of Larry Brown, right? So there's two keepers, a waiver, and a retire. We're halfway there. All right, Vada Pinson. 70 was kind of a comeback year. Had some slumped a little bit in the latter part, 60s. Then 70 was a big year. See, take a look here. It's 70. You see that? 286, and he had 24 homers. You know, 65 he had 22. 24 and 70. So that was a big homer year. 82 RBI, 800 OPS. So after 66, 7, 8, and 9 with Cincinnati and St. Louis, he comes to Cleveland and delivers. Now, he's going to come back in 71, and his numbers are going to go down, all the way down to a 672 OPS. He's an Angel in 72 at 697, in 73, and in 74. He is a full participant all years. And so he will be in the league. He's going to be in the league, right? With Cleveland, with California, with Kansas City, with somebody else. You always start by keeping a guy. So I'm keeping Vada Pinson until I find somebody better than him, right? Find somebody better, then I'll put him on waivers. But right now I'm keeping him. All right, his Cincinnati teammate, Frank Robinson. He would eventually return to Cleveland as their manager. Hence the reason for this trade that we just did. And you see here, so going back to 66, what would happen if Frank was still on the Reds in 66? Who knows? We'll never know, will we? And so Baltimore did the unthinkable by going, we're going to say goodbye to years 70 and 71 because we think the arrow is going down from 69. And they punt on these 2 years just so they can get Al Bunbury on the team quick, fast, and in a hurry. And because, of course, he goes to the Dodgers and the Angels before he ends up with Cleveland in 74. And one of the things that we're seeing in the carryover league is when a team desires a guy, but they get him when he's too old, like Frank Robinson to Cleveland at age 38. We saw the same thing with Willie Mays. Willie Mays on the Mets at age 40. So we had the Mets and Cleveland go after these Hall of Famers, and they still had some juice in their legs. And it paid off in a big way. The awful Indians went all the way to the divisional round until they got blasted by Oakland. And the Mets are still alive with Willie Mays, a firm reason, and one of the most important reasons why they're there. So just these individual Hall of Famers are making a humongous impact in the carryover league. Frank Robinson and Willie Mays. Frank's 70 card is up. To add insult to injury, Cleveland could take another Baltimore card, the 71 card, a World Series card, didn't win it, was in it. Third in MVP voting in the American League. And Cleveland would say, yeah, we'll take that one too. We had one Baltimore card, we're going to take another Baltimore card away from Baltimore. So they could take that one. And it really, it's 894 OPS. This 75 card, an Indian card, will be available next year, I believe, with an 894 OPS and a 237 batting average. It's a ton of home runs in a small sample size. That card's made. That'll be a fun card to eventually get into for the Indians. Frank's going to be an Indian for a while, and rub it into the Orioles' face all along. So there is a keeper, and now they got 4 keepers. And this is what I said. Once you get a lot of keepers, you can change your mind on the Eddie Leones and Veda Pinsons of the world. All right. The last of the hitters, Danny Walton, was a Brewer. You know, Brewers actually had some nice hitters with that 1970 team. We had Ted Savage and Danny Walton. I think they had Steve Hovley and Johnny Briggs. They had some nice hitters in that 70 Brewer team. There it is. Seattle Pilot to Milwaukee Brewer. 257, 349, 790 OPS, and 17 home runs. That's the card we just saw. 71. He's with a couple teams. Misses 72 and 74. Has a cup of coffee in 73. None of this is any good. We're looking to see if we can get waivers for Milwaukee or New York in 71. Milwaukee, New York for Mr. Walton. Here's Milwaukee looking for a Walton. Don't see it. Here is New York looking for a Walton. Don't see it. Looking at the extra players. Don't see it. Don't see it. Doesn't exist. He is retired. Sorry, Danny Walton, but we got to put you on retirement. Strat-O-Matic did not continue your career. And last, it'll be Steve Hargan. 70 was a big year, and I think there's some missing years. Possible injury or demotion to the minor leagues. He's missing some stuff here, Mr. Hargan. There's a gap we will see. 73 is gone. And then plus participation in 72 is only 20 innings. So 70 was this great year. 11-3, 290 ERA, .07 whip. Really cool year. Could not finish with the Indians in the present season. Was an all-star in 67 with them. 6 shutouts, led the American League in 67. Always like to see these little black spots, you know. 71, not very good at all, folks. 1-13, 619, and a 171 whip. Well, the 74 card exists, and it's pretty good as a Ranger back in the rotation. So let's get him on waivers first before we start thinking about 74. Get him on waivers. This card in 71 has to exist for Cleveland. Probably does. Let's take a peek. Cleveland. There it is. So he qualifies for waivers. So somebody will take him off of waivers with that 74 card. That's what I'm guessing. That's not a bad card at all. And Cleveland is set. Perfect. We've been seeing a lot of this recently. Teams matching up the number system. You're allowed to keep 4 guys, put 2 guys on waivers, and retire 2 guys. Cleveland is set to do exactly that. This isn't firm, of course. I mean, we've got 6-7 months to figure this stuff out before the draft in March of 2023. But if Cleveland decided to ignore the phone calls, they could go into the draft with this distribution. That's it tonight for eliminating the Cleveland Indians. Hope you're enjoying these elimination videos. We'll see you next time.